In a recent episode of Pickleball Fire, I talked about my heroes, those who have been saved by pickleball and now they're giving back. One person I forgot to mention was Lawrence Blundred, because he wrote this excellent book called How Pickleball Saved Ollie Otter. So, backstories of books, of children's books, are great. J.K. Rowling, author of Harry Potter books, if you know anything about her, she was a single mom. She was on welfare, and she started writing. She didn't give up. She chased her dream. And what was interesting is when she had the idea, she kept it to herself. She didn't tell her mother. And she regrets not telling her mom. And, when her mom died, she channeled that grief into Harry Potter's story and the loss and love. Well, Lawrence, who wrote this book, he has a similar story. His wife died of brain cancer before this came out. And this book is very deep. And so, he talks about this in the beginning. That's the cool thing. This book I really like because, there's a background for the story, for the reader or storyteller. You could see the background is amazing. He gives you the background. He tells you what others are saying about how pickleball saved Ollie Otter. He has this amazing dedication. I mean, that stuff you probably won't read to a group of kids if you're doing story time or maybe your own kid. But the nice thing about some of these books for me, I go back and look at my childhood books and I look at what else the author has written. Like Beverly Cleary. I grew up on Ralph and the Motorcycle, and reading some of her adult fiction, I'm like, whoa, interesting. But it's good to see the full picture because you see the growth. You see what's all out there. And, Lawrence Blundred, he actually channeled out of his grief because when he and his wife wrote books like, one of was called Staying Resilient When Life Throws You More Than a Curveball. About what they had to do. And I'm looking at the story and I'm really inspired. As an adult, I'm reading this and I want to find out more about this guy. Anyway, Lawrence Blundred was a published author before he came out. So out of a lot of the children's books, the quality of this is amazing. He's worked with Winters Publishing, very good publishing company. The book is very nice quality. I've seen some folks who write a book, just send it out there. I've seen some misprints. I've seen a lot of them. Not to brag, folks, but I used to work as a copy editor for Phoenix Books in Beverly Hills. So if you need help, maybe you can call me. Just saying. But Lawrence didn't need this because this publishing company did the job. This book is nice. I love the text. I love the layout. Oh, by the way, a huge shout out to a young man, Gabe Fuller. The illustrations were amazing. A nice thing about this book is, the settings are in different countries. He talks about animals like Ollie the otter obviously is in the U.S. He talks about, penguins in Antarctica. And here's a cool thing right here. These aren't quite kangaroos. What are they? Something like a kangaroo. A wallaby. Okay. So this story really got to me. Because in a good children's book, a good author tells his story and he hides it. But it's basically, throughout the book, there's these young animals that want to play a game. They're alone and they find the game. And so reading the story about Wally Wallaby kind of really got me, it just gave me the chills. Because one day Wally couldn't find his mother. He was lost. He cried and cried. He wanted to snuggle back into his mother's warm pouch, but she wasn't around anymore. And the story goes on, but what's so amazing was later on, he met a mother wallaby looking for a baby of her own. And it was just so beautiful seeing this. This is a real deep book. So as an adult reading this, of course, I'm in love with the backstory. And I could imagine a kid who loves this story too. As they get older and more mature, they'll want to find out the backstory too. There's been times I read stories to my kids and they're like, Dad, I love that story. Read it again. I could see this book being that book for many kids. They'll love the story. They'll love seeing the animals from all around the world. They'll love Gabe's wonderful illustrations. And anyway, this is a great book. It's very Pickleball Librarian approved. It's more than just playing pickleball. I mean, it's a deep story. You know, it's not as technical as like Bend Your Knees Louise, but I love the fact that it shows how pickleball is worldwide. And anyway, in the description, so I gave you some things. I mean, a link to the podcast I mentioned, but a link to the website for this book, because there's a lot of activities for kids and some more, and you can also buy the book from there. Anyway, I just love to read, and I hope you do too.